Hey, this is the third day of Navaratri. Navaratri is the 9 nights, and it's the 9 nights of the goddess, the celebration of goddess Durga, badass 10-arm warrior, demon slayer, a goddess for the tough times of life, who is also the mother of the universe, the nourishing power within all of us. And she wins a battle with a very difficult and challenging and hard and manipulative demon named Mahishasura. And he's a buffalo demon, and he's the demon of stuckness and certainty and dogma. And she is the goddess who is resourceful, who finds new ways, who carves new pathways within us and in the world around us. So she is our ability as humans to, and as part of nature, to carve new pathways, to not only discover other ways of being and thinking and seeing the world, but creating new ways of thinking and being and seeing in the world. So in some ways, I think of her in this time in the world, in this stressful election season in the US and with war in the Middle East, as an invitation to think about things in new ways, to hear different sides of the story, to not get stuck. Mahishasura is the stuckness in one perspective. And it might be a perspective that holds in it truth, but it isn't holding in it the entirety of the truth, because another perspective also brings with it another way of thinking about it and seeing it. So she is the invitation to in some ways, inside ourselves, go through a little bit of maybe a difficult conversations and notice the moments, notice the topics, notice the situations when we get stuck in this is what's right, this is the one way. So that's the invitation of Durga, and that's in some ways a perhaps slightly westernized perspective on this Eastern beautiful Hindu holiday. But and I'm aware of the fact that I'm a Jewish woman, I appear white, and I speak about something from a different culture. But even that inside myself is a little bit of, sometimes a bit of a conflict. Is it okay for me to speak about it? Is this cultural appropriation? So, and is the conversation about cultural appropriation, must it be seen and looked at in only one way? Or are there other ways of engaging in the conversation? So Durga, in some ways, is an invitation to look at things and to ignite possibilities that are different than how we've seen it before. And in some ways, this is perhaps why she has 10 arms, because it takes 10 arms to keep moving things around in different ways. And this night of the goddess is when she is in the form of Chandra Ganta, which is from Sanskrit, Chandra is moon and Ganta is bell. So she is the moon bell goddess. And the story of this form of Parvati, Durga, Kali, Parvati, Durga, Kali is always, they're always an expression of one another. They're different aspects of the same goddess. They are the nature, the nature, the culture, the mother in society, Mother Nature, Mother Earth, and the space between, the unfoldment of the goddess into three more ways. Durga, in some ways, is a threefold goddess. This is why she often holds the trident. And this goddess, Chandraganta, is a form of Durga or a form of Parvati that has also 10 arms, and in one of her hands she holds the trident, because we unfold in three ways, because we unfold in many more. Because there's always there's you and me, and there's our relationship, and then there's all the stuff that births through our 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 relationship and who we are together, and we always are together. Nothing is ever standing in isolation. There's an interconnectedness and a complexity that we're invited to engage in with these goddesses. And today's form is the form of Parvati when she arrives. The story goes that she arrives in the after the wedding of her and Shiva, she arrives in his home, which is a cave. He has his man cave, and she arrives there, and it's a fucking mess. There's ashtrays with half-smoked joints. There's beer cans everywhere. There's dishes in the sink, on the floor, and on the counter. It looks like the place has never been cleaned because it's never been cleaned. Okay, so I don't like this part of the story at all, but it's also an invitation to consider the way that we arrive, no matter where we are in the world and when it is in the world. We arrive in the world, and part of what we do is clean up the mess of what was here before we came. And we are also going to leave a mess. Even though we're trying to organize and clean up, we're gonna leave a mess for the next generation. This is kind of part of the story, right? So she arrives and she starts to clean up his mess, which is infuriating in my opinion. But she wants to live there, right? She doesn't want to live in the mess. So she takes the broom and she starts to organize. And there's this demon who can only be slain by a child of Shiva and Parvati. So he knows that she arrived there, and he's got to do everything that he can really quick before they get before bedtime, right? And so he sends another demon who is a bat demon, who has an army of bat demons, and they all arrive to attack Parvati and to get her away from Shiva or to destroy her. And so she gets really, really scared, and she goes to Shiva and she asks for help, and Shiva is in his meditation, and she's trembling with fear, and she forgets who she is. She forgets she's Shakti. She forgets she's the power of the universe itself. And she asks for his help, and he says, "My love, you are the demon slayer. It is you who can win the battle with any demon." And her fear and her insecurity in that moment is the expression of her being not like the demon, right? The demon is certain. The demon is certainty. The demon is absoluteness. The demon is unshakable confidence. And we hear that sometimes in spiritual teachings, in New Age teachings, like build unshakable confidence in yourself. And we got to ask ourselves, is that a good idea? Is an unshakable confidence, is that a good idea? Because when I look at some authoritarian figures in the world right now, I don't know if that's a good idea, right? We want to have some shakable, some doubt, some questioning. And of course, that can lean in the opposite direction and take us in another shadowy ground. But we gotta weave into the process of our strength enough doubt, enough unsureness, so that we don't become like the demons. And we need each other to remind ourselves of our strength. We don't want to be the only one that reminds ourselves of our strength. We want that, and we need each other. We need one another. We need a conversation. This is why this is complicated, right? But we have the answers inside of us, but we also don't, right? We also need one another to figure things out. You don't hold all the answers, and that's a good thing. Nobody is almighty. Nobody, even the almightiness that's invented by humans in order to explain all the things that they can't understand. So there's nothing and there's no one that is the everything and the possibility of totally having all the answers. So she goes to Shiva for help, because we gotta go to one another for support, for remembering who we are. And he says, "You're the demon slayer." So then she gathers her confidence and her courage through her fear and through her relationship with more than herself. And she goes out to battle the bat demons. And bats live in caves, right? And the cave, and Parvati's in cave. This is very much of a cave story, because the cave is the womb. The cave is the all-embracing darkness that nourishes us and that births us and that cares for us and grows us and nurtures us. But it's also whenever we give a form whenever we create and generate new forms and give new life, we give with it death. There's a shadow, there's a bat demon in the cave where we create the most beautiful and glorious aspects of life, right? Because there's always going to be a shadow. So she goes out into the darkness. She goes into her own shadow territory, and she can't see anything. So she calls the moon, she calls Chandra, and Chandra arrives, and she invents the headlamp, and she puts the moon in the form of a crescent on her forehead, which is also a symbol well known in the European priestess traditions, and it is also a symbol of the threefold of the goddess, when she is maiden and mother and crone in one, right? When she is the complexity and the different stages of the world and the different expressions of life. And this is, she goes out to battle the demons, and she howls at the moon, and wolves come for her support, for her help, and then the demon of the bats, he is getting actually more fed by the blood and by the intensity of the battle, and he just gets stronger by that. He gets stronger by some of the bats being destroyed and the violence that's going on in the battlefield. And so Parvati Chandraganti realizes it, right? So she has her Chandra part, and she goes in and gets the Ganta part. The Ganta is the bell. She goes inside, she grabs her bell, she comes outside, and she starts banging and ringing the bell so loudly that she scares the bat demons away, except for the main one, who is being attacked now by her wolf, who also becomes her ride, because she rides the wild, ferocious beast, because we all do. Because we don't want to be controlled by our wild animal nature, but we also don't want to control it. We want to be in a relationship of collaboration with the wild. And so dripping blood, teeth just covered in the demon's blood, the wolf kind of goes under her, and she rides the wolf, and she comes and she severs the head of the demon with a bell, right? The sound of the universe ringing loud in destruction, which creates the possibility of creation. And this is how she wins over, and she wins this battle. And she's the invitation to be resourceful, to enter the relationship and the conversation with our darkness, to gather our confidence without losing our rootedness in enough doubt and enough questioning. And if this is something that interests you, I would love to invite you to join me for Bond with Your Life, which is a somatic, mythic journey with the bandhas, which is a collection of 3 somatic practices from the yoga traditions that help us regulate the nervous system and regulate our stress levels, and also help us balance our hormonal levels and a lot of other things, because they also, through the working with the somatic, help us on the mental emotional levels, and working with the mental emotional levels help us with the somatic levels. So if you're interested, all the info is on mamamandala.com, and I would love for you to join me. And if you want more details about it, you can also DM me, no problem, or send me a message if you're watching this on YouTube. And we are going to chant a little bit and meditate for a moment with a mudra and a mantra, because she has 10 arms and she holds a lot of different things in her arms. But one of the things she holds is mudras. In one hand, she holds abhaya mudra, which is the mudra of courage, the mudra of the boundary and the threshold and the space between fear and fearlessness. The space between courage and the ability to rise and meet our fear and being driven by it, right? We don't want to not have fear. We need our fear. It's very important. And we want to make sure that we're not controlled by it, just like the wolf, just like the tiger, who is also sometimes Durga or Kali's, right? And in another hand, she holds Vara mudra, which is the mudra, the gesture of boon giving. So it's a gesture of resourcefulness. She is the goddess, so she is resourceful. She's abundance. She's the ever creative, generative power of the universe. So fearlessness, which is actually fear meeting courage, because courage isn't no fear, right? Courage is the ability to rise up and meet our fears, and resourcefulness. So abhaya mudra and vara mudra. And the mantra is Om Devi Chandra Gantaye Namaha. And I'll sing it, and you can join me in the chant, in the song, or you can just listen to it, whatever feels good for you. You can allow your eyes to soften. If your eyes want to close, you can allow them to close whenever they're ready. And if they're never ready, that's okay too. And turn your attention to your breath for just a few moments. Hold the mudras. And allow the breath to move through you. In and out through the nose. Breathe into your complexity, into your fabric of reality that is woven together by fear and by courage, by wild and domesticated, by fury and serenity, by nuance and a willingness to embrace the paradox of life. Because how else would we win the battle with a demon of certainty, if not through ambiguity and a willingness to sit in the discomfort of dichotomy? So breathe into all of that. And I'll start to chant, and you can join me if that feels inviting for you. Om Devi Chandra Gantaye Namaha. 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 Om Devi chandragantaye namaha. Om Devi chandragantaye namaha. Om Devi chandragantaye namaha. Om Devi chandragantaye namaha. Allow the mantra to ring like a bell inside of you. Allow the mudra to pulse with the pulse of the mantra. And then join the two mudras together, the boon giving and the courage, in front of your heart in Anjali Mudra, in the gesture of the heart's deepest offering. And from your heart, offer yourself the complex capacity of gathering your courage, not through certainty, but through a woven together tapestry of conversation with all the aspects of you and with that which surrounds you, with your relationships with more than you. Make an offering to yourself and more than yourself of ambiguity as medicine to a world that is so obsessed with certainty that it gives rise to religious fundamentalism and to tyranny of autocrats. So invite into the mudra, into the offering, your willingness to sit with unsureness as a gift, as a courageous gift, and as a possibility of becoming, through your vulnerability, stronger and more powerful. Thank you so much for joining me for this little moment with Chandraganta, with Durga, and I would love for you to join me for Bond with Your Life, a journey with abundance to empower and strengthen you, to help you gather your strength and your power, and to leave enough room for the breaking down of patterns through questioning and through an exploration that is well-rounded of you and your surroundings. And we will do it with mythology and with practices, with asana, with pranayama, with meditation, and we will do it with symbols, and we will do it in a pretty well-rounded kind of a way. So I can't wait to do this with you. It starts on October 13th, so head over to mamamandala.com, get all the details, sign up, let me know if you have any questions, and I will see you soon. Thank you. Namaste.